Good morning, good morning, good morning. Martin Aguilar here from the Filipino Hospitality, and thank you for joining us once again for another episode of our Upskill live learning sessions. Now, I hope everything is okay. Earlier, we've been experiencing some technical difficulties, so I hope that we're able to sort it out already. Now, for today, we're going to have a special episode, right? We understand naman the importance of sanitation and hygiene nowadays, right? And so we want to discuss and talk about how the accommodation sector should operate in the new normal, right? So yan po ang ating mga considerations today, no? And so I hope that we get to learn a lot because we do have special guests with us, no? Joining us this morning would be Miss Nat Hardin, the PR and Communications Officer of Red Doors now. And later, she's going to be talking with us. She's going to share who or what Red Doors is. Now, with her will be Dr. Renzo Ginto. He's a doctor of public health. Now, he is the HygienePass training and consultant. So hopefully we can learn a lot, no? We can understand, no, what are the different considerations that the accommodation sector should do right now. Okay, so there you go. Now, if you have questions, please go ahead and comment in the section below. So sana po, no, nakikita po natin yung ating live stream right now. And if you have questions, go ahead and write your comments in the comment section. And then later, hopefully at the latter part of the stream, we're going to share, no, yung ating mga comments. So if you have questions for Miss Nat or kay Dr. Renz, then please go ahead and share. All right? So yan lang po, no? We'll go ahead and invite na our special guests for today. Okay? So tignan natin if Miss Nat and Dr. Ginto is here already with us. Okay? So let me go ahead and check them out. Sandali lang po, no? Kasi right now, no, I hope everything is okay. Medyo meron nga lang po tayong slight delay, no, with our technical issues. Of course, that's the challenge with the live stream. Okay, so eto na. Mukhang Miss Nat and Dr. Ginto is already with us. So let me go ahead and pull them out. Hi, Miss Nat. Dr.
Hi.
Ginto, hello. How are you?
Good
Hello.
morning. Good morning,
Good morning.
Good morning.
everyone.
All right. So kanina, no, I was introducing already who Miss Nat is. So si Nat is the PR and communications of course, Red Doors. And later, she's going to be sharing with us who and what Red Doors is and what they represent, right? And of course, now, Dr. Renzo Ginto is a doctor of public health, and he is, no, of course, the HygienePass training and consultant of Red Doors, right? So first, maybe we can start with Nat, no? Nat, maybe you can share with us who or what Red Doors is. No? What are you guys working on? Or what's your objective for the travel industry?
Well, first of all, thank you for this opportunity, Martin.
Mm-hmm.
For Red Doors, we're basically a technology-driven hotel management company offering affordable accommodations for everyone. So, we are disrupting the hospitality industry by transforming the fragmented supply inventory into branded, standardized accommodations, and then leveraging its mobile app and digital channels to drive strong consumer demand. So, in terms of growth, we actually started in 2015 in Indonesia.
Okay.
We currently have 2,500 hotels in 150 cities. That's across Southeast Asia. And in 2018, just 2 years ago, we are now here in the Philippines. So in the Philippines, we have 250 hotels in 24 cities, and that's Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. And we're very proud to say, given the growth that we have in just few years, we are currently one of the top travel apps in Google Play Store, and that would be around 3.7 million app downloads. Yeah.
Great. So you're vastly no extending your reach na to in our industry here in the Philippines.
Yeah, yeah, correct. So yeah, and in terms of like what we want to do here, it's basically we want to penetrate the smart and value for money Filipino travelers. So that's our core market. And for renters to be here, it's like almost your one-stop shop, wherein you have your Red Club. It's an exclusive membership um, program wherein you can get also your exclusive discounts, and then you also have your Red Cash, which is typically your cashback type of perks also.
Great. Now, not I understand no, that the hospitality and tourism industries was really hit. No, it's very difficult for us. No, we're all going through difficult times. In fact, that's one of the
Correct.
reasons why we established this upskill learning sessions. No, in order to reach out to our tourism professionals, to hear them
Mm-hmm.
out, to at least no in every way that we can help them.
Mm-hmm.
No, cope up with this pandemic. Now, of course, I think all organizations naman are affected with the COVID-19. We then
Yeah.
highlight the importance of sanitation and hygiene, right? And so we go
Mm-hmm.
back to our
Mm-hmm.
topic, really, how should the accommodation sector operate in the new normal? So it's always good, no? It's good that we have, of course, with us, Dr. Renzo
Mm-hmm.
Ginto, who will share it with us naman, of course, the COVID-19 situation. Doc, would you have an idea of the current status of the COVID-19 in the Philippines?
Well, thank you again, Martin, for having me here. Me and Nath to be able to share about the hygiene pass. But when it comes to your question about the current situation of COVID in the country, perhaps we're all seeing, the posts and the news. Unfortunately, the situation is still far from really getting stabilized. And as we speak today, there are around 48,000 people who have active COVID infection. So that means they're still sick, they have symptoms, whether it's mild or severe, and perhaps they're also very infectious and contagious. But since COVID-19 has hit the country in the early part of this year, there have been already 74,000 cases that have been detected. And, we can also say that that might be an underestimate.
Right.
Testing capacity in the country has definitely dramatically increased from one laboratory in the early, I think, February, March, to now around 90 laboratories. So that's actually good news. But still, in a
Mm-hmm.
population of 110 million people, and having 7,000 islands, it's definitely not going to be sufficient. And so that's why I'm saying there might be other cases that we're not able to catch. And when you compare the Philippine situation with other neighboring countries, unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
we're now number one in the Western Pacific region of
Mm-hmm.
WHO.
Right.
Yesterday I was in a meeting with WHO, and they're saying that the main reason behind the spike in the region is the Philippines. And it's so
Mm-hmm.
disheartening to hear, no, that your country is
Right.
actually top notcher now, at least in the
Yeah.
region when it comes to this pandemic.
Yeah.
And we don't want to be number one in that, right?
Right. I mean, we want to be number one in tourism, for example, right?
Right.
And unfortunately, if the situation of the country continues to be like this, if it doesn't
Mm-mm.
improve in the next couple of weeks, even months, unfortunately, as you've said, the tourism industry has already been badly hit, and it will continue to
Yes,
be severely affected if we don't get our
Mm-hmm.
acts together.
that's right. Well, given that, of course, no, everything's happening with the pandemic, with how it is impacting our tourism industry. Nath, maybe you can share with us the kind of support or assistance Red Doors partners and customers received during the pandemic.
Well, of course, like with the impact of COVID-19, of course,
Mhm.
CSR would always come first. So we were able to for our partners, we were able, and also for our employees as well. We were able to provide our program called Hope Hotline. So that one
Okay.
is actually more of providing mental health support for them, given that there's so much cabin stress, there's so much
Right.
anxieties going on.
That's right. And in fact, every help that we can, no, we have to extend to our partners, right? Because I think a lot of us are really, that's you're right, no. A lot of us are affected very much in terms of mental health. A lot of people are stressed, no. A lot of our tourism stakeholders were displaced, right? And
Correct.
so, in every way that we can, we're really looking forward for organizations to extend their helping hand. All right. So, I apologize. No, I believe we're
Correct, correct.
experiencing
Yeah.
some technical difficulty again, right? But
Yeah.
I hope this basically stabilizes in a bit, right? But
Yeah.
siguro maybe we can ano naman, maybe we can shift now with ano kay Dr. Renzo. Kasi of course Dr. Ginto, no, uh, at the end of the day, we're not looking at flattening the curve anytime soon, right? So maybe you can give your observations on how Filipinos are practicing hygiene and sanitation today.
Yes, and it's. I'm glad you mentioned the mantra "flatten the curve," right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Right.
definitely an objective that unfortunately is still not being met. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
we just did not we just did not flatten the curve. We also hit the bar, right? And when you say
Right.
hit the bar, meaning all these reports that the major hospitals of Metro Manila are already at capacity, that is actually not good news. That means the
Mm-hmm.
healthcare sector is already very overwhelmed. And we cannot afford having more cases beyond that, because that will mean, overflowing hospitals. Philippine General Hospital is already has already exceeded their ICU bed capacity. And healthcare workers will definitely feel very burnt out. No? Maybe after this pandemic, all the health workers of the country will need a well-deserved vacation, and Red Doors can also, be the hotel of choice. But going to your
Mm-hmm.
question about behaviors, no, of people practicing, the Filipinos practicing hygiene and sanitation. There's actually one survey by the Imperial College London in the UK that says of all countries in the world that have been surveyed, the Philippines has the highest, rate of utilization of medical masks, of face masks,
Mm.
around
Okay.
90%. And so, when we hear news that, oh, Filipinos are pasaway, Filipinos are not disciplined, that's actually not true. Filipinos are perhaps some of the most hygienic people in the world. And that is why, this is so important even for the accommodation sector, that we ensure that high level of hygiene and sanitation in our facilities. And so, I think when it comes to, the pandemic is going to stay with us for some time, right?
Right.
It's not going to end tomorrow. And so it really takes two to tango, that the private sector, the business sector, the hotel industry provide the best standard of hygiene and sanitation. But at the same time, our public, and especially our travelers who will be staying in our hotels, they should also make sure that they abide by these hygiene principles and sustain the good behavior
Right.
that we're already exhibiting according to surveys that I already mentioned.
I agree, no, Doc. Actually, the Department of Tourism, of course, in coordination with the Department of Health, released and implementing rules and regulations for the accommodation sector. Now, maybe we can ask naman Nat, no? Nat, maybe
Yeah.
you can share with us how Red Doors is coping up with the restrictions. Kasi I'm sure there's a lot of restrictions, there's a lot of hygienes and sanitation
Yeah.
standards recommended by the DOT and DOH, right? So how are
Yeah.
you guys coping up with that?
Yeah. So with the pandemic, we've adjusted a lot of operational processes that we were
Okay.
previously doing. And
Mhm.
this is the reason why we've come up with the Hygiene Pass certification program.
Mm.
And it's not just, this program is not just for Red Doors alone, but it's also open for the non-Red Doors hotels.
Okay. So, if you don't mind, no, explaining further, what is the Hygiene Pass certification program?
Well, there's actually a need to implement precautionary measures during the COVID 19 in order to manage the ongoing health risk, right? So, in
Mhm.
order to solve these problems, the Hygiene Pass certification program is what we call the new Clean Promise standards,
Okay.
where we proactively implement the best practices possible for hotel players. And this is with the support of course, our public health expert, Dr. Renzo. So, Hygiene Pass is also an industry wide standard of cleanliness where we tackle the realities of COVID 19 at the hotel level. And this one is developed digitally. We have a technology solution to help counter this
Mhm.
virus spread. And it would enable us to do the processes of the certification. And yeah, so for us to implement it, given that also we have the mobility restrictions, so digital technology is actually the next step moving forward, especially
Right.
for COVID 19, right? Yeah.
Mhm. Well, typically, when you talk about sanitation and hygiene, that's
Mm-hmm.
usually basically housekeeping, right? But
Yes.
why do you think Red Doors decided to look at this program at the medicinal angle or level?
Mm-hmm. Well, like we mentioned earlier, COVID 19 actually displaced at least 1.9 million Filipino and tourism employees, right? So can you
Mhm.
imagine if 1.9 million are already displaced? Imagine how about for the looking at it on a macro level. So the travel and hospitality sectors, right? So
Right.
and given the pandemic, consumer behaviors are rapidly shifting, and travelers are becoming more cautious of booking hotel accommodations. Um, like there are researches online as well, and also researches led by the DOT themselves, no, wherein they say that the consumer and travelers now are actually prioritizing hygiene and sanitation. So
Okay.
so with Red Doors looking at this view and looking at how budget hotels are actually not really seriously implementing transparent or rigorous and ongoing practices to uphold those good sanitation and hygiene measures, not just for the premises but also for the staff and guests. This is the reason why we saw an opportunity to bring in the Hygiene Pass certification program.
Okay. Now, if you don't mind me asking also, what then is the role of Dr. Ginto naman as a public health expert, 'di ba? Of course, that's his expertise, no? What's his role naman with the Hygiene Pass certification program?
Actually,
Any
I
one of you
have
can
a
answer.
yeah, I have a scenario for this one. So COVID
Okay.
19 was like a grenade for everyone right across the globe. So
Right.
kaya nga pag sumasabog yung grenade, it's like you run everywhere and you don't know where to hide and you don't know where to feel safe, right?
Right.
And with the COVID 19, we are all asking about what is this virus about? How did we get it? How are we getting it? This is why we want to onboard someone who's not just an expert, but more on someone who's knowledgeable and someone who can
Mhm.
actually guide us all throughout as we want to be COVID ready and like we want to be not just to be COVID ready but also to be to provide safety and public health consciousness as they say for our
Mhm.
employees and our guests. Yeah, I think
Right. What about you, Dr. Gito? Maybe you can share naman your specific role, when you
Sure.
decided to join and on board in this program.
Sure, and by the way, I really like Nat's use of the
War.
grenade metaphor. I've never heard that being used before to describe COVID-19. We always describe COVID-19 as a war, no, as a battle, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
then now it's a grenade, and that's why they say, where do you call? Ghostbusters. But this time you go to the doctors and you go to public health professionals for advice. But I think what's happening now, and it's not just unique for the accommodation sector, but for every sector, for every business, is that we're realizing that everybody's second business is health, right? And in fact, there's even a World Economic Forum article that says, in this day and age of COVID, every hotel and every business in the accommodation sector should think like a hospital. That they should
Right.
be in first and foremost, a place for safety, and then hospitality second. So that's a very important shift. And if that is the new mindset for the new normal, then that means companies need to onboard people with medical and public health background in order to really
Mhm.
make sense out of all these really challenging and difficult questions around the COVID-19 pandemic, especially in this day and age of, I'll introduce another term, infodemic. There's so much
Okay.
misinformation that is now being circulated, especially in social media. And it's so important that, companies and individuals do have access to really, authoritative, evidence based information about this
Mhm.
pandemic so that you can really make evidence informed decisions. And that is
Mhm.
why, Red Doors and through its Hygiene Pass program, a lot of the efforts that they've undertaken and that they will continue to undertake are really based on sound, medic and up-to-date medical evidence. And so that's somehow my role to make sure that's not just transmitted to the Hygiene Pass and the Red Doors community, but also it's made more digestible and translatable into policies and guidelines within the sector. Nat, I think we lost
Yeah.
Martin.
I
I
think
am
we
back.
lost
I'm
Martin.
sorry about
There.
that. Actually, I
No
agree
Yeah,
worries.
with
he's back.
that, no, Doc Ginto,
Right.
no, that
We might end up
I
hosting your show.
oo nga eh. I like what you said. That's a challenge. No? Now you know the challenge of streaming live, 'di ba? Talagang kasama po yung mga ganitong bloopers that's
Correct.
unavoidable, right? But I like what you
Correct.
said, no, that we need to really shift, no? We need to innovate. And in terms of sanitation and hygiene standards, you mentioned about us trying to operate basically like hospitals already, because really the sanitation and hygiene standards in terms of housekeeping should be elevated, should be upgraded like that.
Correct. And
Correct.
I always say to not just of course the Red Doors, but to every I think it's applicable for the whole business community. We get guidelines from the World Health Organization, from the Department of Health and DOT, Department of Tourism. But if we
Mhm.
really want to regain the confidence of our consumers, of our travelers, we should go over and above what is actually required. And that is an invitation to innovation and creativity. And I think Red Doors is actually, at the cutting edge of that.
That's right. Okay. Well, before we talk about maybe later, a little bit later, no, Nath can share with us how the new normal business operations would be like in Red Doors. I just want to acknowledge some of our viewers. No, so we have Gary with us. Good morning, Gary. You're joining us
Good
from the
morning.
Facebook Live right now. We also have Edgardo. No, please, if you can also share where you're connected. No, are you in an organization, from a hotel, from a resort? Kasi we have a lot of hoteliers, no, in our community as well. Now, we have from Brookfield, Cavite, faculty and BSHM and BSTM students naman watching the live feed. So I believe they're streaming it also as well, no. We appreciate pala, no. We have a lot of watch parties being conducted as well, no. Some of our
Yes.
academe, our hotelier friends are sharing it live in their own pages and individual areas of responsibility. So we appreciate, thank you very much, no? At this point, we really need to help each other, no? Ito pong mga learning sessions na ganito, of course, we're doing it live as our way of assisting our industry, because at this point, we're really struggling. I know a lot of you are probably hopeless, no? So we appreciate all your efforts. Ayan, marami ding nagtag. Everyone's tagging, everyone's making their friends join in right now. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. They're watching live from Dasmariñas City in Cavite as well. Some are also watching from Palawan. Yan. So even Chuo Bratana is a good friend. He's an ASEAN master from Cambodia. Great. So thank you very much, Mr. Ratana, as well, for joining us. So at least, no, we're really extending our reach. No? And of course, we're not only trying to help Filipinos in general, but of course the hospitality industry, of course the tourism industry internationally, no? So yeah, thank you very much everyone for joining us. Now Nat, maybe we can go back to you, no? Maybe you can share with us how or what initiatives you're currently doing for Red Doors, no? How are you guys coping up, and what's the new normal business operations like in Red Doors?
Well, the good thing about having the pandemic is bringing closer together the hospitals and the hospitality industry. If before, like it's just super duper normal, now it goes hand in hand. So with our operations, we're very grateful that Dr. Renzo was able to join us with this program. So with his guidance, we're also able to implement incident protocols, like the Plan B, Plan C, the cleaning protocols. What else can we improve? What else can we add? The precautions and trainings. With the trainings, our managers they have their monthly and quarterly trainings at least, just to refresh them on what is COVID-19 really about? How does it transmit from one person to another, or if it's airborne, and how does it implement to our hotels, and how can we keep safe of our guests?
That's great, no? Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate it, no? Ito, in fact, some of our viewers are saying, Yan, thank you for sharing your expertise daw with us, no? From St. Dominic College of Asia.
Yes.
Ayan po, no? It's always good that our,
Thank you, Jennifer.
even the academe, no? Our schools, especially those who are teaching hospitality and tourism, are aligned with these kinds of initiatives, because of course they're the ones who are going to be teaching our future tourism professionals. All right. So thank you very much for watching. Oh, okay. Someone watching from YouTube as well. Si Mr. Gary Galindez naman is a DOLE accredited occupational safety and health consultant. Ayan. Thank you very much,
Gary.
Mr. Gary,
Hello, Doc.
for joining us. No,
Hello.
if you can also share your insights, no, in the comment section, please go ahead and do so. We'll appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, no, we're not here just to give the knowledge, no? It's really, or ought to be, a two-way thing, di ba? So dapat po ang learning natin is a two-way thing. Please go ahead if you have insights, you know, you can share the best practices you're currently doing in your properties. Please go ahead and do so. All right. So thank you very much for that. Now, Dr. Renzo, what would be then your general recommendations for properties right now? Of course, no, we have to ensure yung safety and general welfare of their guests as well as their staff, diba? So what would be your recommendations?
Right. And yeah, we already have, as I've said, the minimum recommendations that were given to us by DOT, by the World Health Organization, and of course,
Yep.
those recommendations need to be followed, need to be abided. But again, I want to echo what I said a while ago. How can properties, hotels, accommodations go over and beyond what is required? And because apart from controlling the infection spread, I think what we want is also a healthy and sustainable recovery of the industry. And the recovery of this sector will heavily rely on tourists and travelers
Mhm.
who will actually be feel very confident to be returning to your properties, to be booking, clicking on, and making that reservation. We want to make sure that happens. And if we want to make it as soon as possible, then we need to, again, not just follow the recommendations, but also go beyond that.
Mhm.
And I think there's
Right.
also another, related to what I said about mindset change. Now we're all in the
Mhm.
business of health. We're not just anymore the hospitality sector. We should also
Mhm.
see these efforts as investments for the future. We might think, oh, it's expensive to add additional, disinfectant containers in the facility, or to
Mhm.
purchase more personal protective equipment for our housekeeping staff. But if the mindset is that these are investments, because that will
Right.
lead to more travelers and more bookings in the future, then I think that will be a win-win. And also,
Mhm.
finally, unfortunately, this is not going to be the last pandemic that we will be facing, maybe in this century. As
Mhm.
we live today, the climate is changing. More viruses are circulating.
Right.
The more we interact with nature, the more we, the higher the likelihood of viruses to be jumping from animals to humans. And so
Correct.
it's so important that the hospitality sector of the future is not just COVID proof, but pandemic
Mhm.
ready. And so this
Right.
is the time to really make those necessary
Yep.
investments. And so if it means ensuring that our public spaces
Mhm.
allow, good social distancing, but also ensure that people still get to enjoy the benefit of human to human interaction, then those are the
Right.
investments that we need to make, in the common areas, until they reach the bedroom, the hotel room. At the
Mhm.
end of the day, we want to make sure our travelers feel safe everywhere, all the time.
That's right.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
that's good, no? Talagang nagde-level up na po tayo in terms of our standards. Now, Nath, maybe you can
Yeah.
share, why would an independent property consider partnering with you, with Red Doors, of course, for Hygiene Pass?
Well, I think that looking at it on a larger struggle, in terms of
Mhm.
standardizing all of the hotels, um, it's basically finding that center on,
Right.
where do you position to implement those hygiene and sanitation measures, right? So for Red Doors, we want to encourage a mass adoption of such practices, and we want to be the primary mover of it. So given that our upper management are coming from different the different levels of stars of hotels,
Mhm.
and
Right.
Redders is actually a budget hotel. I think we are in a very good position to initiate an industry-wide certification like this, and to drive education and awareness of the hygiene measures that are being undertaken everywhere. And also, given that we, as I mentioned earlier during the first part of this webinar, we are technology driven. So
Mhm.
with non Reddoors hotels and independent property owners, like those who are here watching, you
Right.
guys can also leverage its technology, our technology and processes, even the brand power and the strong experience in driving the standardization of such scale, right? So
Mhm.
either you can be a Red Doors branded or Hygiene Pass branded. It doesn't matter, because our role is to provide those standard measures across all.
Right. What about you, Doc Ginto? Any insight on that?
Yeah. So I think, I think, there's again, if the mindset if is about, regaining the confidence of our
Mhm.
travelers. There's even a survey that was done by a consulting firm recently, And it seems that a lot of travelers, a lot of potential tourists, even domestic tourists, so let's forget about international travelers, just focus on the Filipinos within the Philippines who want to enjoy the gift of traveling within the
Yeah.
country. There's a lot of hesitation, and even people thinking, oh, I'll just delay my travel until the vaccine has been released to the market. And the vaccine is still far from far beyond our reach. They say maybe it will be out by 2021, but can the Philippines
Mhm.
even afford that vaccine? Right now big countries are already reserving
Yeah.
doses of the vaccine, so we don't know where are we in that list, in that
Right.
waiting list. So we need to be very proactive, and the proactiveness will need to happen at all levels. Government should do its part, but also citizens and individual business owners should also take a very proactive role, and that's why they need to I encourage them supporting these kinds of initiatives like Hygiene
Mhm.
Pass. Again, it's really the private sector uh, being more proactive as opposed to passively waiting for the end game of this pandemic.
Correct.
If I may ask, is the hygiene pass certification only limited to accommodations, or is it also open for restaurants?
The hygiene pass is it focused mainly on hotels and accommodations,
Mm,
because that is where travelers would want to stay if
right.
if they for a longer comparing for a longer time, right? Comparing it to restaurants.
Mm-mm.
So yeah,
Mm-mm.
that will be
So
our main
so
focus.
ano, kumbaga in terms of hygiene and sanitation, it's
Yeah,
definitely we're really going to be focusing on mostly on accommodation. All right,
correct.
okay. Well, thank you very much, Nat, and of course Dr. Ginto, no, Dr. Renzo for shedding light, no, with the current situation of COVID-19, what we must do in order to really upgrade, 'di ba, our sanitation and hygiene procedures.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and if I may add, no, I think the whole world has been upended by this pandemic, right? And now
Right.
we're starting to have new conversations about the future of the economy. Now we're talking about reassessing a relationship with the earth because
Mm-hmm.
of the the biological roots of the pandemic,
Mm,
because of that contact between animal and
Yeah.
human in Wuhan. Now we have 15 million people already affected by a virus just in a matter of months, right? And so that
mhm,
Yeah.
just really shows a lot about the need to reimagine our future, and that is the same call for our sector, the tourism sector. And next week I'll actually have an article in Rappler, so
okay.
I'm if you want to look into it, I'm proposing a new health strategy for post-pandemic tourism. And I was saying there that for the longest time, health is not really central in tourism planning, whether it's, planning or designing your tourist spot, or, travel agencies, or even the accommodation sector. So now is the time to put it at the heart. And how does healthy and sustainable tourism look like in the era of COVID-19 and beyond? So stay tuned. Look at that article next week.
Yeah.
We will, we will. Thank you very much for
Yeah.
sharing that, no,
I-
Dr.
If I may
Ginto.
add,
Lastly,
Martin,
Nat, yes.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So looking at our tourism spectrum, right? So there's like 52% of Filipinos are actually looking to travel at least 3 to 6 months, within 3 to 6 and the key
Right.
factor would be value for money. So value for money would also mean budget hotels, and budget hotels, we feel that would it would be the primary player to boost domestic travels. But the big question there would be, are we even ready to meet the new normal demands of these travelers as hotel players? So, right. So while we're looking at the 3 to 6 months span, I think this is the best time to invest, as Doc mentioned, to invest in such certification programs, or specifically for this hygiene pass. Basically, because we Red Doors, we want to, for all the hotel players out there, we want them to adapt, implement the certification more so to
Mhm.
contribute balancing the global country and personal needs of hygiene and sanitation through this hygiene pass program.
All right. So if ever not that they want to inquire about your hygiene pass certification program, where can they contact you?
Well, they can contact me through my email. So that's Nathalia, Nathalia dot Hardin, Jardin, at reddoors.com. That's REDDOORZ. Hindi po Red Horse.
Ayan. But you can always bring your red horse in red doors, 'di ba? Pwede naman.
Yes. But
But
All
in
right.
moderation,
Okay.
that's the doctor's
yeah.
advice.
But in
Yeah.
moderation. All right. So,
Yeah.
oo nga, no, tama ka, Nate. Kasi I am sure a lot of people working from home are probably thinking na, yes, where is the next destination? Where is the next location that I can finally spend time with my friends, spend time with my, loved ones, 'di ba? So, yeah, I hope that we're gearing towards traveling again, but really we have to highlight the importance of safety
Mm-hmm.
first, right? So that we can, in,
Yes.
in every way that we can, try to at least flatten the curve. Kasi yun nga, tama si Dr. Ginto kanina, no? We're not really improving the situation right now.
Correct. Yeah. And also we want to boost the confidence, right, of Filipinos to
Mhm.
travel again.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very
Yep.
much, Nat,
Thank
for
you so
joining us.
much.
Of course, Dr. Ginto, thank you for joining.
Thank
I
you.
hope that in future episodes, and if ever we're going to be talking about something relevant, no, maybe we can expect you to be with us again.
Yep. Thank you so much, Martin, for this
Thank
opportunity.
you. Thank you, everyone. And thank you
You're
to our
very welcome.
listeners.
Thank you,
All
Doc,
right.
as
Thank
well.
you very much. Thank you, guys. And there you have it. We have Dr. Ginto and, of course, Miss Hardin, no, of Red Doors, sharing with us their certification, the Hygiene Pass certification program. And right now, really, we do have a training, no, where we're actually going to be conducting in the next few months with the Department of Tourism our training, which is called COVID-19 Management Operational Considerations for the Accommodation sector, where we're going to be discussing yung mga, yun nga, yung implementing rules and regulations set by the Department of Tourism, recommended by the Department of Health, no? And of course, yung recommendations set by the World Health Organization, all intertwined in one module. So please watch out for that, no? And I hope we're really going to be reaching out all the regions because tama sila, no? Tama si Miss Nath and si Dr. Ginto. Safety and hygiene is really one of the most, if not the most important thing that we need to implement right now. So I hope that you learned a little something, no? Sana po may nakuha po tayo, may naintindihan po tayo. And of course, no, we appreciate you for being here with us. If you're not able to watch it live, and if maybe you have friends or colleagues na who are not able to watch this live, please go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search lang po The Filipino Hospitality, and please go ahead and subscribe, no? Click on the subscribe button and go ahead and share this episode. So I think by tomorrow pa, or later this afternoon, ma-finalize yung upload nung video because currently we're in live stream right now. But if you have questions, suggestions, please go ahead and contact us, no? Feel free to message us in the Filipino Hospitality. For those watching in Filipino hoteliers worldwide, no? Itong isa pa nating community, please engage with us. No? We really appreciate po yung mga suggestions nyo of what topics we're going to be discussing next because, again, we need to help each other. We need to work together so that we can bounce back, so that we can recover, and so that we can heal as one. All right. So again, this is Martin Aguilar, founder and chief consultant of the Philippine Hospitality. And thank you once again for joining our upskill learning sessions. I hope you join us once again next time. Okay. Have a great weekend, everyone.